the last territory of the distant Arctic. Here stretches an infinite territory, covered by deserts of ice and by islands that remain covered by snowstorms all year round. Names like Novaya Zemlya, Severnaya Zemlya, the Taimyr Peninsula or Wrangel Island, sound like they come from an ancient epic, tinged with mystery and harshness. In March, when the ice of the White Sea begins to break, a vibrant journey also begins. It is the Arctic seal breeding season. Thousands of mother seals gather here to give birth to their small pups that weigh less than 10 kilos, barely 1/10 of the mother's weight. On the cold ice, they must maintain continuously breathing holes so that the pups can come up to breathe. The pups only have 12 precious days to nurse before being left alone on the ice. There they must wait until their black fur grows completely to begin life in the deep sea. Mother's milk contains up to 42% fat. It is the source of energy that allows each pup to gain up to 2 kilos per day, reaching 35 kilos in less than 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the males begin the mating season with a spectacular, patient, and colorful display, blowing bubbles and swimming in circles hitting the ice. Each action is an effort to attract the female's attention. But life in the Arctic is not just love and growth. It is also separation. After brief days with their parents, seal pups will never see their mother again. They must face alone a world white and full of challenges. Wrangel Island, a wild, forgotten land in the far north of Russia, is one of the most pristine places located between the Kara Sea and the East Siberian Sea. This island has no permanent inhabitants, no roads, and almost no human footprints. In their place, nature here reveals itself with absolute purity. Vast tundra fields, endless, low slopes covered with moss, and lichens and cold coasts, where ice melts in plates, slowly floating toward the ocean. Wrangel is one of the few lands where polar bears come to breed annually in the largest numbers on the planet, transforming this place into an icy nursery for a new generation of this great predator. The polar bear, unlike bears that live mainly on land, spends most of its time on floating ice platforms to hunt, rest, travel, and survive. Ice floes are not just their refuge, but their entire world to adapt to this cold environment. The polar bear possesses a perfect body to withstand the cold, developing a fat layer up to 10 cm under the skin to retain heat. Waterproof white fur that serves as camouflage in the snow, and large paws with thick furry pads that allow firm movement on the ice. An adult bear can measure up to 3 miles when standing on its hind legs and weigh over 700 kilos, making it the largest land carnivore in the world. But despite its size, the polar bear is a silent predator. Its main food are seals, especially ringed seals and bearded seals. They stalk near breathing holes in the ice where seals must surface for air. When the opportunity arrives, the bear launches a precise and swift attack. Sometimes due to not finding prey for several days, they move to another hunting ground, swimming up to 10 kilometers in the sea, just to seek another hunting opportunity. Scientists have recorded a polar bear swimming continuously over 100 kilometers, demonstrating the extraordinary endurance of this hunter, this prey. The polar bear mating season occurs approximately from April to June. After mating, the female becomes pregnant, but the embryo does not develop immediately, remaining in delayed implantation within the body until the mother bear digs a snow den to shelter in autumn. There in midwinter, 1 to 3 tiny cubs are born. Fed with thick milk, rich in fat, they grow in their mother's embrace until spring, when the 3 emerge from the den to begin their life among the ice and cold. The cubs will follow their mother for 2 years to learn to survive in this cold, harsh land. However, the polar bear's path becomes increasingly difficult. Sea ice melting is the vital foundation for polar bears, which is melting faster than ever. When ice melts early and forms late, the bear's hunting time is reduced. The distances they must travel increase, and the survival rate of bears decreases significantly. The polar bear, creature at the top of the food chain, is now becoming a fragile symbol of an ecosystem, losing its balance. Heading east in the region of northern Yakutia, over 4,000 kilometers from the White Sea, lies the home of an extremely rare bird species, the Siberian crane. With a population of only between 2,000 and 3,000 individuals worldwide, this bird is extremely sensitive to noise and very cautious. It only breeds here, in the most isolated and quiet areas of the taiga, where human presence is almost non-existent. Further north on Wrangel Island, near the Alaska Peninsula, Arctic life continues quietly but intensely. Like the very spirit of this land, harsh, wild, solitary, but full of wonders. Late spring, when polar ice begins to melt into cold water currents that shine with light. From the distant horizon at sea, Arctic terns begin to appear, small but extraordinary. Having just completed one of the longest migrations in the natural world from remote Antarctica to the North Pole to breed, covering over 70,000 kilometers just to return to the place where they were born. Bird pairs land on coastal rocks, where snow has already begun to retreat and moss and lichens have just turned green again. There they build nests, incubate eggs, and raise the new generation. These creatures will carry within them the innate memory of migration, so that one day they too will fly across both hemispheres, as their parents did. Arctic terns are not large, but their wings contain a precise map guided by the sky, sea winds, and sunlight that stretches throughout the day and night of the boreal summer. They must make the most of every fleeting moment of warm summer. They are not just birds, but symbols of wonderful instinct, of fidelity to ancestral life cycles that the Earth has granted us. North of Siberia, far from mainland near the Arctic region, cold is one of the wildest and most virgin lands on the planet. Snow and ice are not just winter, but also a fixed part of nature. White plains that extend, mountains covered in the silent frost, and frozen sea where large ice plates break, floating silently under the pale sun. There is no boundary between land and sky, only absolute silence, as if the whole world were holding its breath. The Arctic fox lives in the harshest places, from Greenland, Alaska, Canada to Siberia, where there is only white snow, cold wind, and desolation. This fox species continues to live and thrive, leaving firm tracks across the vast white expanse. To adapt to the severe climate, the Arctic fox has evolved a perfect body, double and dense fur that maintains absolute warmth, enough to survive temperatures down to 50 degrees. Especially its fur can change color with the seasons, pure white in winter for camouflage in the snow, and brownish gray or gray-brown in summer to blend with the natural environment. Small, thin, short ears, paws covered in fur. Everything is natural design that helps them conserve heat and move gently over the snow without leaving many tracks. Though not large, Arctic foxes are silent hunters, hunting mice, seabirds, bird eggs sometimes, even eating carrion from large abandoned animals. In winter, when snow covers the ground, the fox uses extremely acute hearing to detect prey movement beneath the snow with just a small sound. They suddenly leap into the air and dive headfirst into the snow. Their characteristic hunting leap is quick, clean, and precise. In spring, when light returns and ice begins to melt, the Arctic fox enters breeding season, digging deep burrows in the earth, where they raise the next generation. Each litter can have up to 10 pups, and both father and mother care together. For family life remains proof of a world rich in instincts of love and cold nature. Though agile and skilled at hunting, sometimes they themselves become favorite prey of the golden eagle, one of the most powerful raptors. In the Arctic, the golden eagle is one of the largest and strongest raptors in the Northern Hemisphere. From the high mountains of Europe, North America to the cold steppes of Siberia. In northern Siberia, this bird becomes queen of the sky, a solitary but majestic figure with a wingspan over 2 millimeters, eyes that can spot prey kilometers away, and curve sharp talons like blades. The golden eagle is the perfect symbol of strength and precision. In a white snow world where life is scarce and survival is a daily challenge, the golden eagle glides calmly high above, watching every small movement on the ground, ready to dive like an arrow and finish the hunt with a precise strike. Its diet is very varied, from small mice, birds to larger prey like the Arctic fox. In the harsh food chain of the far north, few living beings dare challenge the golden eagle's position. They don't hunt in groups, don't need support from their kind, Alone in the cold polar sky, along with Siberia's indigenous peoples, it is the soul of the sky, the representative of indomitable natural force. Now it's late. March, the Arctic enters the season when the sun never sets. From the snow-covered ground diffuses soft silk-like light spreading across every slope. Among whispering pine forests, cold wind illuminates relentlessly day and night. This is when the Arctic exists in a liminal state between day and night, between being awake and asleep. A radiant dream that lasts endlessly. This phenomenon is commonly called midnight sun, when the sun remains suspended on the horizon and the clock has already passed midnight. The light is not as intense as midday at the equator, but soft, slightly cold, and somewhat dreamlike, as if coming from another world. The sky is no longer bright, but not dark either. It is like a twilight veil that lasts the entire month. Light that makes time lose its ancient rules, that makes sleep unstable, and thoughts seem to float in nature. It doesn't have wings as wide as the golden eagle, nor showy plumage. Like the puffin, the Arctic tern chooses to attract attention. With its great numbers, in the brief Arctic summer, tens of thousands of terns crowd narrow rocky strips, barely wide enough to place a foot. From afar, the Spitsbergen cliffs look like a stadium filled with spectators, all dressed in simple white and black uniforms that never stop animatedly shouting, like an endless summer party. What's interesting is that the tern has a thick beak, known as the world's clumsiest climber among birds. They can fly very fast in the air, but when landing or moving across cliffs, they are clumsy and awkward. Even comically so. Backward falls, funny slips happen continuously. Following a flock of terns is not just admiring nature, but like watching a light comedy. Though clumsy on land and water, the terns are expert swimmers, able to dive over 150 meters to hunt energy-rich food to feed the large colony with small bodies and short but strong wings. The tern becomes an exceptional fisherman. Beneath the cold waves of the North Sea, the tern lays only one egg per season. On cliff ledges without building nests, but remarkably its egg has an elongated shape at one end that makes it spin in place if it rolls, reducing the risk of falling off the cliff. Intelligent natural design. For the world's most minimalist architects, birds living among cracks, crowded in communities of tens of thousands, the exhausted tern has created a living soul for Spitsbergen's brief summer. Walruses, the peaceful giants of the Arctic, are an indispensable part of the natural landscape. With enormous bodies, thick skin, and pale tusks. Long as swords, they lazily lie very close together, forming small groups on the seashore. In contrast to the bird's bustle and commotion, young walruses bring to this land a slow, heavy rhythm, as if time here also had to slow down as it passes. Their deep, hoarse roar resonates in the cold air, sometimes mixed with territorial dispute sounds. Brief tusk clashes, as if these lazy warriors were rehearsing for a battle. That will never happen. Each long tusk is not just a weapon, but also a symbol of age and social rank. Walruses with thick skin and long tusks lie proudly, occasionally submerging their bodies in cold water to relieve the brief heat of the Arctic summer. Though their appearance is fierce, with robust bodies and long tusks, Walruses are not completely invulnerable. In the Arctic's harsh world, they can become prey. For polar bears, the supreme predator that silently stalks any carelessness among the ice and snow. Early May, when coastal ice banks begin to crack under the gentle, never-setting sun, puffins return in flocks. After a long journey, crossing cold oceans all winter, seeking once again familiar cliffs, green meadows along the Arctic coast. To begin the short, busy breeding season, the puffin, also called horned puffin, is one of the most special seabirds of the Northern Hemisphere. With contrasting plumage, black and white in a round, adorable face, and its bright orange-red beak that illuminates the entire cold sea, the little puffin has always been known as the ocean's clown. But behind its friendly appearance hide powerful survival instincts, shaped by millions of years of evolution. Every summer, after months wandering the ocean, the puffin returns to the place where it was born. The cliffs, steep coastal meadows of Iceland, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, or Virgin Capes near the Arctic Circle. Like Spitsbergen, the wonder is that although clumsy walking on land, puffins are exceptional swimmers underwater, using their wings as oars, gliding through cold waters, diving deep to hunt fish with surprising speed and agility. They only appear on the island during breeding season. But with over 100,000 pairs of birds, the puffin forms the largest breeding colony in the area, becoming a living symbol of the island. Unlike other seabirds that nest on cliffs, the puffin digs burrows up to 1 meter deep to incubate their eggs. Their small wings are perfectly adapted for diving and fishing rather than flying. Every time they land, they wobble like drunks, climbing stairs, but sometimes also perform graceful landings. In the puffin world, family bonds are very strong, and pairs are faithful for life. When one returns from hunting, the first thing it does is bring food to its partner in the nest as a ritual to strengthen the relationship. But neighbors are not always friendly. Big threats are common when an intruder tries to invade territory. Every summer, when the Arctic sun shines relentlessly day and night, huge ice floes in the Arctic Sea begin to melt silently. From above looking down, the sea that was once covered by a white ice layer now shows patches of dark water, small patches and cracks of water, lakes that gradually spread across the ice surface. This is not just a seasonal phenomenon, but a clear signal of great change occurring at the planet's North Pole. Arctic sea ice is a natural layer of floating ice covering much of the Arctic Ocean. Unlike ice in Antarctica or Greenland, sea ice forms from seawater freezing. It is thinner but extremely important, acting as a giant mirror, reflecting sunlight back into space, helping Earth maintain thermal balance. But today, due to continuous global temperature rise, sea ice not only melts seasonally, but its extent and thickness are rapidly decreasing each year. Beneath the sea surface, white whales beluga, also affectionately known as curved-headed giants, are one of the most emblematic creatures of the Arctic and are endemic whales of northern cold waters. Unlike many other whales that migrate to avoid winter, beluga whales remain in the Arctic all winter, perfectly adapting to the ice and snow environment. Thick in nearly freezing water. Up to 8 meters long and weighing up to 100 tons. The beluga whale is among the largest animals on the planet, distinguished by its extremely large head, comprising nearly 1/3 of body length. This huge head has very dense bone structure, allowing the whale to break through ice layers over 60 centimeters thick to create breathing holes, a vital skill in Arctic conditions. Unlike toothed whales, the beluga is a baleen cetacean, using baleen plates, up to 4 meters long inside its mouth, to filter plankton from seawater throughout summer. When ice melts and water is rich in nutrients, the beluga whale moves beneath Arctic's cold waters, silently filtering water to feed. An adult beluga whale can consume tons of plankton daily, ensuring energy reserves. For the extremely cold winter months, beluga whales are also famous for their incredible longevity. Studies of ancient fossils found in their bodies, as well as recent research, show many individuals can live up to 200 years, making them one of Earth's most long-lived animals. Some specimens have outlived several human generations, witnessing the slow but continuous changes in the Arctic. Along with the beluga lives the white whale beluga, which is smaller but no less special in the Arctic, with a rounded body of pure white and a face that always seems to smile kindly. The beluga is known as the white angel of the Arctic Ocean. Unlike its larger relatives, like the blue whale, the beluga has a smaller body, measuring only about 6 meters long and weighing up to 5 tons. They are quite agile swimmers, perfectly adapted to the cold environment, thanks to the thick blubber layer under their skin and their ability to move skillfully through narrow ice cracks. The beluga can produce complex sounds, from whistles to clicks, especially. They can produce trills for underwater communication. For this, people also call them sea canaries. Sea canaries. The beluga whale lives year-round in Arctic coastal areas, from the Beaufort Sea, Chukchi Sea, to large river mouths in Canada and Russia. In summer, when ice melts and warmer fresh water from rivers flows to the sea, they usually move inland to narrow gulfs and estuaries to breed and care for their young. Beluga groups can number in the hundreds, even thousands of individuals, forming white processions that stand out against the cold blue water. Though they appear docile and friendly, beluga whale life is far from easy. They must always stay alert to predators, like polar bears stalking near breathing holes in the ice, or orcas hiding in deep waters. The Arctic is not only the land of peaceful creatures. When ice melts and open water areas expand in summer, predator shadows also arrive silently. Orcas, the supreme predators of cold oceans. Orcas, also called killer whales, are present in all the world's oceans and increasingly appear frequently in Arctic coastal zones. Due to climate change advancing ice melts, with robust bodies up to 9 meters and over 5 tons, along with high intelligence and extremely effective pack hunting ability, orcas become a serious threat to native species like seals, beluga whales, and even humpback whale calves. Unlike the slow calm of blue whales, or belugas, orcas appear with active, organized attitude. They usually coordinate in small groups, using intelligent tactics like separating calves from mothers, surrounding and attacking or ramming ice floes, to knock seals hiding there. Rare hunting behaviors. Few marine species can match the increasing presence of orcas in the Arctic in recent years is also a signal of great change in this region's ecosystem. With significant reduction of sea ice, orcas' hunting range expands, and many native species, like walruses, para derribar a las focas que se esconden, comportamientos de caza raros que pocas especies marinas igualan.